think more than short term. When you're setting up your practice, you want to make sure that your tech stack is set up for success, and that's your EMR. Where do you see your practice in 2 to 3 years? That's how you should be evaluating your tech stack.
Why should a provider seriously consider OptiMantra? Like, you've hit so many amazing things, but if a provider who's busy and overwhelmed and, looking at this as even like almost an investment, like, why should a provider go with OptiMantra?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the last few months, I've been attending a lot of trade shows and getting to interface with a lot of our potential prospects. After I give my 30-second overview of what Opti does and what we include, a lot of, I wouldn't call it pushback, but a lot of feedback is, gosh, it's too robust. I'm just starting out. I'm not going to see more than 5 or 10 patients my first few months. Like, it's just too much in one system. And what I kind of implore them to think about is, well, think more than short term. So you want to, when you're setting up your practice, you want to make sure that your tech stack is set up for success. And that's your EMR, your CRM, your website. You don't want to look at, okay, well, I know in the first few months, I'm only going to do these small list of services. Well, where do you see your practice in 2 to 3 years? That's how you should be evaluating your tech stack. And so, I also give those warnings that we talked about. Migrating data from an EMR that you've outgrown, it can be a pain. We help with the data migration piece, but not all EMRs export your data really beautifully, unfortunately. If you've outgrown your EMR because your practice has grown, I'd probably assume that you don't have a lot of free time to learn a new system and train your staff. And OptiMantra is set up for you to grow your practice. We have marketing capabilities. We have that great patient communication features. And so, we actually ran a study this past year that showed that when a practice starts using Opti, they grow 37% on average in their first year.
Wow.
So
No way.
yeah,
That's
it's an
awesome.
incredible stat. We want to be your growth partner. And so when you're evaluating these EMRs, think about long term, where do I see my practice? And do I want the headache of switching over in 6 months when I've outgrown this smaller platform? So it's definitely a mindset thing. And I think some of the people I've spoken to are like, oh gosh, I haven't thought about, future services or, am I adding telehealth? Do I want to do e-prescribing? And so it comes down to, we might not be the best fit for you, but I do implore you to think a little more long term.
Yeah, it's a great response. I can, again, even speak to that part. When we first started using OptiMantra, it was, again, I took the onboarding class and I was just wowed by the whole thing. It was very intimate and lots of great questions were asked and answered and all that sorts of stuff. Funny enough, like 6 months later, I'm hiring on my first, receptionist, my first staff member. I'm super nervous. I totally don't have the time to do anything, it feels like. Immediately OptiMantra was like, hey, no problem. Here's the onboarding class. Like, we'll get her in and she'll want to take these specific classes based on my business. And she walked out of there knowing the EHR better than I did. You know what I mean? Like, she was totally ready to rock and roll. They taught her things that obviously, not that they didn't teach me, but things I wasn't focused on. I was never, a receptionist, so to speak. I was trying to do all the whole NP thing. So it was just really cool to see. Again, you're right. Like, you don't have to sit down. You're not going to spend, as a provider, 8 hours trying to train your staff on using this EHR. Like, it's baked in to OptiMantra, which is so cool. And again, even the growth factor. When I first started, I had basically 0 patients. Then I had 5. Then I had 10. And then all of a sudden, I have 50. And then 100. Then 200. And I couldn't agree more. Sure, could you do this? I don't know, cheaper? Your guys' price point is insane still, by the way. It's totally insane. Could you do it cheaper? You definitely could. But like you said, okay, that's great until, if you plan on getting busy, which I hope you do if you're a business owner, in 6 months, you're going to turn around and be like, dang it. Now I'm totally outgrown this crappy, cheap EHR, or it's going to cost me an arm and a leg to upgrade to the next one, where I could have just started with OptiMantra and made this a whole lot more simple. So, anyways, I won't belabor the point, but I couldn't agree more with you. I experienced it firsthand. I've pushed so many providers towards utilizing OptiMantra. And again, I tell everybody like EHRs, some of them maybe look sexier and have cooler things and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, it's really just going to come down to how functional is this for you and for your patients, right? At the end of the day, that's what's going to matter the most. And OptiMantra, I swear you guys you knocked it out of the park with that every single time. So I'm very appreciative of you guys and our relationship. Lauren, if people want to learn more about OptiMantra and maybe explore a little bit and all that sorts of stuff, like what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so right on our website, which is just optimantra.com, you'll have access to an interactive demo right on the homepage, so you can click around and get a feel for what the system looks like. We also offer a free 15-day trial, which is essentially your platform. You're able to customize it exactly how you want. And then we also have a demo walkthrough, so that one-on-one session with a demo specialist who will kind of walk you through anything you might have questions on and give you the guidance on if this is the best tool for your practice.
Thank you so much for checking out this clip and tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. If you really liked it, I definitely recommend that you click here to watch the whole entire video where I go into much more detail. Thank you again for joining, and I'll see you there.